My name is Kaylalalaproductions, and I am the producer and researcher for the 100 Years of Beauty for the Dominican Republic. For our first look, we wanted a typical campesina style inspired by Saltipopa and Mama Tingo. They were both women who fought for the rights of agricultural workers. With this first style, we wanted to show the resilience and strength of the Dominican woman. For the 1920s, as you have noticed, it's a more conservative style. We had two inspirations in this case. One was Ercilia Pepin. She was one of the first women to start an educational institution for girls here in the Dominican Republic, and Evangelina Rodriguez, the first Dominican woman to graduate with a doctorate's degree. At this point in time, as you can see, the style in the Dominican Republic is very different from what was going on in other parts of the world. And this is due to the very influential presence of the Roman Catholic Church in the 1920s that still had a lot to do with the Dominican government and Dominican culture. As we go into the 1930s, we see the beginning of Rafael Leonidas Trujillo's dictatorship. It was a very dark time in Dominican history that lasted 30 years. Angelita Trujillo was the inspiration we chose for this style. She was a very controversial figure at the time, and she was actually daughter of Trujillo. We didn't want to show in this video only the positive side of history, but also the negative side. And we wanted to show how sometimes politics can influence a lot in pop culture and the media in general. For the 1940s, we chose the timeless Hollywood actress Maria Montes. She was the first Dominican to make it in Hollywood, and she paved the way for many other Dominicans like Zoe Saldana, among many others, and still is a beauty icon of the Dominican Republic. For the 1950s, we chose a tropical pinup look, and it was inspired by the World's Fair that came to the Dominican Republic in the 1950s. It was the first time the Dominican Republic started promoting itself as a go-to tourist attraction, which is a big contrast to the political unrest that came to the Dominican Republic during the 1960s. This look was inspired by Maria Teresa Mirabal, who fought alongside her sisters for the freedom of the Dominican people against the regime. I personally was able to go to the Mirabal Museum and was able to see the endless collection of earrings, dresses, purses that Maria Teresa Mirabal had. It was very striking to me that a woman so fashion-forward was also so strong and fought for the liberation of the Dominican people. Also, the green signifies the Movimiento de 14 de Junio and the women that fought alongside their men during the American occupation of 1965. For the 1970s, we went for a more disco funky look. It was inspired by Angela Carrasco. She's a Dominican ballad singer, and she's very much loved by Dominicans and Latin Americans around the world. In the 1980s, we chose Las Merengueras Mili Quesada and Las Chicas del Can as inspiration for this look. It is very well known that merengue is one of our most beautiful musical treasures in the Dominican Republic. But it wasn't until the 80s that we saw women playing, composing, and singing merengue. It was a really huge movement, and Mili Quesada and Las Chicas del Can had a lot to do with it. I know you guys are wondering about the beer. In the 1980s, Dominican women used to put beer in their hair in order to create more volume and create more puffiness. I guess it was go big or go home. The 1990s was inspired by my own personal experience. If you guys can see the flequillos, as they say it in other parts of Latin America, here in Dominican Republic, we used to call them buscanovios, which in funny Dominican talk means boyfriend seekers. As we go into the 2000s, we see a more Eurocentric style coming into popularity. It was also the time when Amelia Vega won Miss Universe in 2003. It was something of national pride to see the Dominican beauty being recognized internationally. As we go into 2016, we see a big movement for the natural hair movement growing in the Dominican Republic. In the last years, we saw the first natural hair salon open up in the Dominican Republic, as well as organizations like Mis Rizos and Quisqueya Natural advocating and fighting for the rights for women to wear their hair naturally in the workplace. Also, we won a battle against La Junta Central Electoral to be able to wear our hair naturally on our cédula, which is our national identification. It is a reflection of how Dominican Republic is not letting stereotypes and beauty standards dictate their beauty anymore. And that is a big reflection of how technology is advancing, and through social media, YouTube, and many of those mediums, we can see other types of beauty that have changed our very own.